Hi there, Jeep owners. Today in your 2020 Jeep Grand Cherokee, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install etrailer's base plate. Here you can see our attachment points where we'll hook up our tow bar on each side, and you can see that the base plate is going to be completely hidden behind our fascia, and it's just going to poke out the holes where your tow hooks used to be if you had tow hooks. If not, they would poke out of the area that's just covered up where a tow hook potentially could go. There is a bracket that's kind of a universal bracket that you can choose wherever you want to install it on your vehicle for mounting up your electrical connector, and we decided to just put it right here in the middle for mounting up our electrical components as well as our breakaway switch and braking system attachment. The arms that you see here on each end are going to be removable, and they'll hook up to any Demco, etrailer, or Blue Ox tow bar. They simply will slide on there. You'll pin it in place. The pins and clips do come included with the tow bars, not with the base plate, so just keep that in mind. These arms are going to be removable, so that way you can minimize how far it sticks out when you're not flat towing and just driving your vehicle regularly. You'll just pull the pin out there, give it a twist, and this will slide out. It's going to be the same on the other side. Just to the outside of our tow bar attachment, we've got our safety cable attachment there. So you'll have pretty much everything you'll need to be able to flat tow your vehicle behind your motorhome. We'll begin our installation here at the front of the vehicle. Go ahead and pop your hood. We've got a couple of pins here on top that we're going to need to remove because we're going to be pulling this whole front fascia off so we can get our base plate installed behind it. You can use a flat bladed screwdriver or a trim panel tool. There'll be a little notch on your clip that you can fit that in, pop up the head, and then pull that up. After that, the entire clip should pull out of there. If the top piece pulls out of the little clip, they do just come apart and press back together, so you can see that just pops out and they just push back together. So if it happens to come apart on you, that's not a big deal. We'll take a look at this one. You might be able to see closely there. There's the little notch that we were talking about that you can fit your little bladed tool into. I'm going to turn a little sideways so you can see there. It fits right in there, and once you get it started, a trim panel tool will pull it up really easily. Next, we'll take our steering wheel and we're going to turn it all the way to either the driver or passenger side, and we're going to head to the wheel well of the wheel that's turned in. So I'm going to turn it all the way to the right, and we'll start over on the driver's side. So you can see we've got our wheel turned to the inside. That'll give us some more room to work here. This trim piece here we're going to be pulling back. There's two rivets that hold it in place. We'll use a 3/16 drill bit to drill out the rivet. We'll do that with our lower one here. And sometimes if it just pops like that, you might have to grab your trim panel tool to get behind it to pull it out. So now we're going to pull out on the trim piece. If you pull back on the fabric here, you can kind of get behind it and you can kind of push the clips as you're going to make sure you can get them to release. There's little tabs on them. You can kind of see there's that little tab right here that I was kind of pushing on to get it to pop in. So now we'll take this up. We'll take that one up there, just using our 10mm socket. That'll let us pull the fabric back a little more. If you want, you can remove this. This is usually like an access panel for like replacing your headlights and stuff, or fog lights. It just kind of twists until it pops out of there. If you want, you can pull that out of the way. It'll give you a little bit more room to work and see. And that looks like just about everything that we're going to need from there to disconnect. If you wanted to pop it up further from here, you could. But typically once you go past this point, these clips are a lot more prone to breaking. So if you can leave it there and get by, then I would recommend just doing that. So now I'm just going to take a cloth. We're just using some shop towels here. We're just going to fold this up just to give us some padding or cushion that we can kind of stick behind the trim piece. And that'll hold it out away from your fascia that we're going to be removing. That'll just help keep you from scratching it, making it easier for you to get your hands in there when we get to the point of removal. If we follow our wheel well trim to the bottom and then head inside, you'll see you've got a small attachment pin here that has a twist handle on it. So you'll just want to grab that, twist it, and you should be able to pull that out of there. Come on. Just like that, and that'll separate it so that way our fender liner is no longer connected to our fascia. We'll do the other side the same way. So we're now at the underside here at the front. You'll have 4 push pins along the front panel. If you kind of give that a little bit of a pull, you can kind of see that that's holding things together. So we need to remove all of those. They remove the exact same way as the pins up top. It is a little tighter here, so I'd almost recommend a flat bladed screwdriver for these versus the trim panel tool, which we might go ahead and grab one to get each one of these removed, just to prevent from causing any scratches on this paneling. So we're going to swap out to the flat blade screwdriver and get all those pulled out, but it's going to be the same as just this one here. Now, to minimize how many connectors we've got connecting our fascia to the vehicle, we're going to pull back on this fender liner here. We can tell this vehicle has fog lights, so we might as well disconnect that fog light now while we're not holding the fascia in our hand, and then pull down to disconnect it. So now we can go ahead and start to remove our fascia. We're going to start in the corner where we've got these panels popped out. So just kind of put your hand in there and just kind of work your hand behind it, peeling it out, keeping your trim away. We're going to continue working that forward. Once you get here to your headlights, if we look under the headlight, you'll see that you've got some clips in there. If you've got a little plastic trim panel tool, that'll make things a whole lot easier for popping those free. So we're going to continue kind of working. All right. And then we got one of those clips right here. So we're going to try to push down on the black part of the clip. We got a white bumper, so the black pin, little clip there is what we want to push down on as we're pulling out on this panel. And it can be pretty tricky because it is on there pretty tight. All right, there we go. We got it popped out. And the one behind the next clip down here also popped out. So we've got it unclipped all the way to that point. Once you get it clipped to this point here on the headlight, you'll want to head over to the other side and get it clipped off to that point as well. And once you've got it released to this point on each side, we're going to put our body here in the center so it can't fall off. It's attached here at the top just by some clips, so you just want to pull up on this panel to disconnect it from those clips. Kind of work your way down, making sure you get each one unclipped there. And then once you've got it unclipped, it should just kind of walk away. And we're just going to do it slowly so we can check to make sure there's no additional electrical connectors we'll need to disconnect. But it looks like all we had was those fog lights, so now we'll set it aside where it won't get damaged. Now that our fascia is out of the way, the plastic piece that we've got here at the bottom we're going to remove. They're twist pins, just kind of similar to the ones we removed over there. So we'll give those a counterclockwise spin and pull it out of there. I'm going to leave the middle one for last so I can grab it here in the middle to support it, and we'll just pull that off and set it aside. We're now going to remove the bolt located here. This is, we're just to the inside. There's your washer bottle here on the driver's side. So we're going to pull that out with our 10mm socket. This is just going to let us peel this inner fender liner away from the vehicle some, because our base plate's actually going to attach right here. So this will just give you some better access. We're going to do that on the other side too, just so we get good access on that side as well. You might have some additional components depending on the model and trim package that your Jeep has. On ours, we don't have any of those things, but you may have tow hooks connected in this location. Same on the other side there. If you do have that, you'll want to remove your tow hooks. And you may also have an adaptive cruise control sensor located right here in this area. You would also want to pull that off of there as well. Be careful with the adaptive cruise control sensor. You'll just want to kind of lay that thing to the side, maybe hold it up. We don't want to pinch our wiring when we go to slide our base plate in, so you're not going to see me mess with it because we don't have it. But make sure that the wiring for your adaptive cruise control is going to be on the outside of the base plate after you slide it in. Next thing I'd recommend is once you get those things kind of taken care of, if you have tow hooks, you should be fine because you're removing bolts from this location. But if you're like us and we don't have tow hooks, I'd grab one of the bolts out of your kit and just make sure that you can thread it up in there easily. If not, you might need to hit it with a tap. Or you could use some penetrating oil, and there's brushes we sell here at eTrailer that can clean out dirt and debris to help it easier, but if it's really rusted and stuff in there, you may have to tap it. So I just want to check each hole just to make sure that the bolt does thread into each one. That'll just give you an easier time because you're trying to hold up a heavy base plate and thread something into a hole that's not really accepting of a bolt because of its conditions. It's just going to lead to frustration. So just double check those, and if that's good, we can grab our base plate here. So this is the hardware that comes in your kit that you're going to use to connect your base plate. You'll need a total of 4 of these prepared for your installation. So it's easier to have this stuff together when you go to lift the base plate up because it's pretty heavy. So if you got everything ready sitting near you, you're good to go. You'll slide a lock washer on your bolt, followed by a flat washer, and then you get blue Loctite included in your kit. You want to make sure you put that on each of the bolts that we're going to attach our base plate to the vehicle with. So again, total of 4, 2 per side. So we're now going to take our base plate. If you take a look here, this is the orientation. The flat part there with the 2 slotted holes is going to face towards the top like this, and it'll slide in that location there on each side. So just kind of take your time and gently slide it in there. We're going to make sure we get the other side slid in as well. We can then grab our bolts that we prepared, and we're going to thread those right into the factory weld nuts that's located on the bottom there. Once we get one started on each side, the base plate will hold itself up, making it easier to install the rest of your hardware. Now after you get one started on each side, you can pull back on that fender liner to get to these bolts back here. I did need to grab my pry bar just to kind of push the base plate towards the direction we needed to go to get that to start. It just didn't quite want to line up, and that's just due to manufacturer variances. There's variances in the tolerances of the base plate, and the vehicle also has its own manufacturer tolerances and variances. So when you add those together, it can actually make things be quite off, but usually with a pry bar you can make it happen. We can now go back with a 17mm socket and snug down our hardware. And now we can go back and torque our hardware to the specifications outlined in our instructions. So the plastic air dam that we had previously removed from underneath, we are going to modify a little bit and then reinstall. The upright pieces here, we're just going to cut these pieces off. So we're just going to use some snips to cut in there and trim those right off of there. Just like that, just trim it out. You're not going to see any of this behind the paneling, so you don't really need to make it real pretty. Just need to get these pieces out of the way. And now we can just reinstall this back in the location that we had removed it from. It's just going to sit right underneath like that. Our pins will push back in and twist it to hold it in place. Included in your kit, you're going to get some safety cables. These are going to be permanently installed. We'll wrap it around the frame of the vehicle, and we're also going to wrap it around our base plate. We'll hook it together using the quick links that come provided. Now when you slide it up around the frame of the vehicle, do make sure that you're not pinching any wiring or any components in between your cabling and the frame of the vehicle. And see if we can't get it pushed back down there. Not quite going to fit there. We can go around the outside here and be just fine. So once you get it around like this, we'll take one of the quick links that comes provided, open it up, that'll just hook around there, and then you just hook it right back onto itself and close it up. We're then basically going to do the same thing going around our base plate. We'll slide it around, see if we can't pull it back down some to make it easier to make our attachment. There we go. Get that pulled down. Open this one up. And just like we did with the other one, it'll slide over the cabling, through the loop, and then just close it back up. You'll get another set of quick links and another cable, so we can do this on the other side as well. So we're now over on our fascia here, the big front of the car that we removed. If you had tow hooks, this piece is probably already open and you may need to do some minor trimming for it to install. But if you've got one like we had that didn't have tow hooks at all, this piece here would need to be removed. Some of the models have pieces that you can just pop out of there, but this one here is made completely into this whole grill piece, so we are going to have to cut it out rather than just being able to pop it out. So we're going to use our cutoff wheel here, and we're just going to trim out the entire section that you see here. So now to clean up all the rough edges and stuff we got, we'll just take our file up in here and we'll just knock all that stuff off of there. You can also use this to kind of straighten it out because we had a couple of spots like right here where it's a little rough. We'll use our file just to kind of clean all that up. You might need to switch between a flat file to a half round or a round just to get the exact shape that you desire. So So after cleaning it up with the file, it looks pretty decent there. Just kind of get it cleaned up to your liking. And at this point, I would recommend that you hold off on reinstalling the fascia. We're going to be reinstalling it, but not at this point, because we're going to take the opportunity that we've got to do the rest of our flat toe setup while this is off. We can run all of our wiring for our diode wiring, your braking system install, all those other things that require you to route stuff to the front of your vehicle. This is a really good time to get all that stuff done. And that completes our installation of eTrailer's base plate on our 2020 Jeep Grand Cherokee.